Joining us now to talk about this and a lot more, Congressman Randy Forbes, member of the House Judiciary and Armed Services Committee. And Congressman Forbes, thank you so much for being here. Let's pick up on this right away. I know that I've read comments from you about this clemency for drug offenders. You're saying, why just drug offenders? Why are we just picking on this one particular area of crime? Should it be extended to others?
Well, Ashley, if you look at the purpose for clemency, it's to deal with unfair situations. I asked the Attorney General in a hearing that we had recently before the Judiciary Committee if he had any examples anywhere of any Attorney General who had ever issued these pleas for clemency based on one particular aspect of crime, and he couldn't think of any. Yeah. It's, again, an opportunity this administration has of just abrogating the rule of law, because you're looking at the fact, you mentioned other administrations.
Yeah.
Prior to last year, Ashley, this administration had only granted one commutation of a sentence, and now that's before the election. After the election, as the president said, he'd have a lot more flexibility to do a lot of things. They're talking about thousands of these individuals. And remember, Ashley, these are individuals that were tried by judge, jury, had a prosecutor, defense attorney. These sentences were handed down. And what we don't know in many of these situations is, you know, sometimes people plea out to some of these because could have been prosecuted under much more serious crimes. But now they're opening the doors and letting these individuals out.
According to these new guidelines, they have to be, you know, an exemplary prisoner. They've done all the right things. If they were charged under the same circumstances in today's guidelines, they wouldn't have these long sentences. Is this a way to relieve the overcrowding of prisons, which is a big problem?
If the law's not good, you need to change the law. But you can't do what this administration is constantly doing, saying if Congress doesn't change it, we're just going to unilaterally do it. The other thing, Ashley, that they're doing is they're taking dozens of attorneys, according to their own comments, to put them on getting people out of jail, but yet they come back and tell the public, we don't have enough attorneys to prosecute people who are here illegally. We can't do that. Therefore, we're just not going to prosecute any more of these cases. They can't have it both ways. And I think what people are so frustrated with is, again, the rule of law means so little to this administration. You want to change the law? That's a fair argument. Change the law. Don't go back after the law was in effect. Nobody argues that it wasn't fairly done, and then just come back and say thousands of people are going to open the door and let you out.
I wanted to talk to you about affirmative action, the Supreme Court 6-2 decision saying that Michigan has the right, the states have the right to decide what to do when it comes to affirmative action. But again, Eric Holder, critical of actually praising Justice Sotomayer, who was a dissenter in that decision, saying that, look, this is going to be unfair for minorities. What's your view on that?
Well, you know, we always see the Attorney General, who's supposed to be our chief law enforcement officer in the country. He praises the court when he agrees with their decision, but then when he disagrees, he wants to come back and lambast them. You know, this wasn't a close decision. This was a 6-2 decision. And basically what the court said is that if the voters in Michigan wanted to be colorblind, if they did not want to have race as a criteria, that they had the right to that. And so I think if you look at that argument that the Supreme Court made, it's kind of hard to argue with the justification when you get a 6-2 decision.
But Justice Sotomayor said the numbers don't lie. She says in those states where they have done away with or banned affirmative action, the numbers of minorities in public schools has dropped considerably.
Well, I don't think she had arguments for Michigan, the one on this one, and that's the case that was before the court in this particular situation that the justices decided on.
Before we run out of time, the president off on a trip around Asia, which years ago was supposed to be the pivot to Asia. Things didn't quite work out that way. We talk about trade with Asian partners. It's been impossible to achieve. Why?
Well, Ashley, first of all, you're an expert on that. You've covered that area for a long time. But I think when you look at this whole pivot to the Asia-Pacific area, this is if you want to keep your health insurance policy, you can keep your health insurance policy moment for foreign policy. The president put everything on, we're going to do this big pivot, this big shift.
Right.
And he just didn't do it, and he didn't put the resources there. When you look at the trade situation, it's primarily been the Democrats in the Senate that have held this bill up. It's an important bill. I hope we get it out of there because our allies are really depending upon it.
Already out of time. It flies, doesn't it?
It
Congressman
does.
Forbes, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ashley.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, gun